Hello, and thank you for watching Resumes with IST Career Solutions. My name is Cassie Rosas Carson. I am the Internship and Professional Development Coordinator with College of IST. We're going to talk about some resume basics, and please access the resources on our website as well. We're going to start off with just going over some basics about resumes, including sections. There are multiple sections that you can include on a resume, but you do not need to include all of them, as it all depends on the type of experience that you have had over the last couple of years. So you always want to have your contact information, education as you are getting your degree at Penn State. And then additionally from there, you could have a skill section that's highly recommended, especially if you're in the STEM field. Potentially, if you don't have a ton of work experience related to your major, you can include some project work experiences from class projects, could include some part-time jobs, internships, activities if you're involved with some student orgs, and potentially some awards or honors. So the first contact information is always going to be at the top of your resume, with your name being the largest thing on the resume. From there, you always want to include an email and a phone number. And if you do have a very strong LinkedIn profile, you have lots of completed sections and you keep it updated, we highly recommend that you include the URL in your contact information, not a link, but the full URL. If you're in a more creative field or want to do more creative roles like web design, app design, or things like that, you could also include an ePortfolio URL as well, that employers could take a look at your different work. As you can see, there's also different ways that you can format your contact information. This is just one of three. There are several out there. It's really your preference of what look you like. The next potential section could be your objective section. This is a section that is completely optional. However, if you are applying online, and don't include an objective or a summary section, that the applicant tracking systems can populate one based on your resume. So if you don't have a ton of relevant experience, I might recommend having a quick one-liner highlighting the position that you're applying to, the company, and some skills related to that position that maybe you want to highlight. It also can be helpful for some networking events. If you're specifically going in and looking for a certain type of like full-time job or internship, you could also have that for like career fairs so that employers can easily see what you are looking for in the moment. The next section on your resume, as you're a current student or recent grad, we would recommend having the education section on your resume. Now, a couple things with the education section: you always want to have the formal name of the university, the Pennsylvania State University. You always want to have Bachelor's of Science or B.S., as you don't want to include the word major, as that is more of an academic term. The actual thing that you're getting is a degree from Penn State that is a Bachelor's of Science, or B.S. if you're in the College of IST. Then the name of your major with a comma in between the degree and the name of your major. You can also include your focus area. You only want to list the graduation month and year, as employers only want to see when you are going to be completing your degree. We encourage you to include your GPA if it is above a 3.0. However, if you do have a higher major GPA than your cumulative GPA, you could include both on your resume to show that you have stronger academic performance in your classes related to your degree. You could also include courses in the education section, or honors and awards, scholarships. There are some other things that you could also include. And if you do have more than one major or are doing an advanced degree with Penn State, you do want to list the university twice, as with applicant tracking systems online. Each degree, it does search for the name of the university. The next potential section on your resume could be an experience section. This could be work experience. This could be internship experience. It can include all kinds of things that are relevant towards what you're applying to. The three things that you need to include in every experience section is the name of the company, your role within that experience, the start month and year, and end month and year, or present is if it's ongoing. Location is optional in this section. You can include it, but it's not something that is required. You could have up to 3 different experience sections on your resume and customize it based on the roles within each experience and what you're applying to, as you want to organize your resume according to what your application goal is. Making sure that you're also using past tense and starting each bullet with a action verb. Even if the position is ongoing, still using past tense, as it just works better with applicant tracking systems throughout. And these are great sections to highlight soft skills and to customize based on what you're applying to as well. You want to quantify based on money potentially raised for an organization, or percentages, maybe making something more efficient, things like that. You also want to qualify. So don't just use simple terms such as used software or performed coding. Really be specific on the different software applications and technology that you use, languages that you programmed in. Try to be as specific as you can, as you only have one page to show your qualifications for it. And if you can highlight skills in your bullets and in your skills section, it does strengthen your application for that resume, and always highlighting what you did in those roles and the results of the work that you did. Here's just another example of a potential work experience section, different ways of formatting, making sure that you have the name of each organization. So if you are including student organizations that are related to your major in your an experience section, you want to make sure that you're putting PSU or Penn State before that experience, so it recognizes it as an employer, and then always including your role within each of those organizations. So you can see on my screen, I have a mix of a part-time job on campus, but also some different student organizations, as well as they all kind of relate back to potential role within cybersecurity. Another big section, especially for STEM majors, is going to be the skills section. And this is really where you want to focus on hard skills that relate to languages that you speak or code in, and then any software and technical related skills are the things that you want to highlight in this section. So on the screen, you'll see that there is the skills section. You can format this using columns within Word, not tables, as tables cannot be read with applicant tracking systems. You also can just list them out and just use commas in between, but you always want to make sure you have a comma or a bullet in between each skill. Otherwise, the applicant tracking system will read it as one. If you do want to include a project work experience section, again, if you don't have a ton of experience related to your major, this is a great way to highlight some of your in-class projects that are highly relevant to your degree. So you want to include your role within that team project. So team lead, team member, put PSU or Penn State before the name of the project or the course to highlight it that it was something associated with the university, and having your start and end dates as well. Don't list your majors or semesters or months, as seasons cannot by applicant tracking systems in them. So another example of potential resume format, there's a lot of different ones that you can work with. It's really what you like in format in Word and then save as a PDF. You want to make sure that you're using the same font throughout your entire resume. I would recommend staying with some common ones like Time Roman numerals, as those work best with applicant tracking systems. You also don't want to have more than 3 different font sizes. So having your name as the largest, then I would have your section headers as one side, and then everything else the rest. You don't want to go smaller than 10-point font. You do want to make sure it is still readable by a human, as it eventually will get to that point after it goes through the applicant tracking system. And you also want to be consistent with your margins on all 4 sides of your resume. And that could be anywhere from 1 inch to 1/2 inch margins. Also make sure that you're consistent with your section headers. So if you use all caps or underline, just keeping that consistent throughout your entire resume. Consistency is very important. So what one section looks like, the other section should look very similar. Just another example, this is kind of a 2-column resume example, not used with tables, but it has the headers on the left side of the resume and then all the content on the right side of the resume. So it's just some quick last tips for when you're creating your resume, making sure that you're utilizing keywords that relate to the job postings throughout your resume. That can be in bullets or things like that. You also want to make sure that your most relevant experiences are highlighted in your experience section, and the sections that most relate to what you're applying to should be towards the top of your resume. Want to make sure that you highlight every single qualification that you have that matches that posting and is your job to show you are qualified for that um, position, and don't want to just send a general resume. You want to also make sure that you're customizing. So if there are some projects maybe you need to switch out, or tweak some bullets or add some skills, those are things that I would highly recommend to do, and always sending it as a PDF. Don't forget, you can always meet with a career coach like myself through IST Career Solutions if you need help with a resume review. There's a lot of different ways that you can stay connected with our office. You can email careers@ist.psu.edu. You can schedule a 30-minute appointment through Starfish. We also have drop-ins on Wednesday. You can find all that information on our website. We also send out weekly emails to University Park students, but if you would like to be added to that weekly email, you can always email us to be added. And I highly encourage you to follow us on Instagram at IST at Penn State to stay connected with the office, the college, and to see all the different great things that are going on. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please check out the applicant tracking system presentation as well.